Good morning, everyone. I hope the rain has abated a bit in Moshi. I thought this morning we would do something a little bit different and have a look at the book of Ruth. This is something that we touched on in the Bible study and perhaps at a morning service. But it's a lovely story, and I thought would be quite good to cheer us up at this time of separation. It's a small book, only 4 chapters, a little sister, as it were, sandwiched between the big brothers of Judges on one side and 1 Samuel on the other. A heroine amongst all the heroes. There are lots of heroines in the Old and the New Testament. There's Sarah and Rebecca and Rachel and Tamar and Rahab. There's Deborah and there's Hannah. Then there's Esther. And there's the New Testament heroines, Elizabeth and Mary, and so on. And so this also is a story of adventure, not an adventure of swords and spears, but an adventure still that required bravery and brains, set amongst lands and a home and family and progeny, a heritage. Perhaps the boys and girls will know the story of Moana and how the sea, the ocean, was calling her to adventure, but her father wouldn't allow her to go beyond the reef. And the old grandmother, Tala, introduces her to the Cave of Secrets, where the ancient ocean-going ships lie hidden. And she enters, and there's a wonderful scene in that Disney movie where she understands that her ancestors were voyagers, and she too can be a voyager and go on an adventure. And so Ruth, in its own way, is a story of adventure and also of redemption. Redemption means buying back slaves, but it also means rescuing people from trouble. And the story of Ruth begins with trouble. It's set long ago in the town of Bethlehem. Now, Bethlehem means the house of bread. It was famous for its wheat and its barley and its almonds and its olives and its grapes and, of course, also its sheep. But just as there was fertile times, there was also famine. The big four: pestilence, plague, famine, and war. And this was the first blow that struck that family. And we have their names: Elimelech, the dad, and Naomi, the mum, and the 2 boys, Mahlon and Chilion. And they decide to try and seek a better future beyond the boundaries of Israel, in the land of Moab, on the plains or the fields of Moab. And so they set off there, and they become strangers in a strange land, in a place of strange gods. Today, I suppose we would call them refugees. Often refugees can make a lot of a new life, and that was their intention, to do their best in Moab, to survive and to prosper. But the second blow that hit Naomi was the death of her husband, Elimelech. But that didn't deter her, and story tells us that they stayed there for 10 years. The boys had grown up, they had married Moabite girls, but they also died. And so we have all this tremendous sorrow and difficulty. The women, the 3 women, Ruth and Orpah and Naomi, are left without men who were the providers and the protectors. But worse than that, they were left without children and without a future. Now, it's not completely clear in the book of Ruth whether, to some extent, it's Elimelech and Naomi's fault for getting into this mess. They've left behind their own land. Their sons have married the daughters, as it were, of false gods. They seem to be perhaps, and this is ambiguous in the story, perhaps in the wrong place and in the wrong relationships. But is that not true for us as well? And true for every human being in our own ways? We get into the wrong situations, or situations at least that are ambiguous. That's part of the human conundrum. But this is a story not of the past, but of the future, and how God takes Naomi and also Ruth and gives them a marvelous new future. They have to return. They have to return back to the land of the Lord, the land of Naomi's people, and the land of their own traditions and heritage. And so at the start of the story, Naomi has lost everything. She's lost her home in Bethlehem. She's lost her husband. She's lost her sons. And she says, I went out full, but I am returning empty. 10 years with nothing to show. But we will see as the series goes ahead all that the Lord has in store for Naomi and Ruth, her daughter-in-law. Bye for now.